Hi, and welcome to the first episode of Unscripted and Unchoreographed. I'm your host, Sarah, the dancer.
Niamh, the actor.
We're so excited to start this podcast. We've got so many people that we're going to be talking to, different artists from all over the country and in different fields. And we can't wait to share everyone's story, meet new people, and keeping up to date with what's happening in the arts world in Ireland at the moment. Join us next week for the first episode of our exciting interview series, where talented artists share their personal journeys in the arts and offer valuable advice for fellow creatives. In this week's episode, we're going to tell you a little bit about ourselves, how we met, how we got started in the arts, and what we hope to achieve with this podcast. We started Confession Box back in 23.
Yes.
And Confession Box is a space where artists of all disciplines can create and perform their work. And this space was created because as young artists, we found it difficult to obtain funding and create our own work without funding. And we founded it from a desire to produce our own work, while also we hope to help emerging and established artists who have not attained funding to showcase their work.
This is our first episode, and it's kind of like an intro to us, how we started, what our practices are. I'll go first. I'm Niamh. I'm from a small town in County Monaghan. How I got into the arts. When I was tiny, wanted to be a ballerina. I think my mum took me to a ballet. She liked theatre and ballet. She's a great dancer. And I was really bad at ballet. Really, really bad. Really ungraceful. And what I didn't know at the time, and I would have found out later in life now today, I'm dyspraxic. So
I'm dyslexic.
do you think you became an artist because maybe of being dyslexic or not preferring practical things like dance? Like
I've always preferred more practical, because even when I was in school, I loved technology, the subject, and that is a more practical, like you're physically making and designing a product. In first year, like we had to make a clock, and then for like our junior cert project, we had to make a electronic bird feeder. So things like that I loved, and I did that all the way up to leaving cert. It was my favorite subject, but I think also it was one of those subjects where being dyslexic and having to do 7 subjects is a lot. Like you give your whole life to it at that time, and it's the biggest thing. And then I knew I was going down the dancing route already at that point. I was dancing hours on end after school as well. So it was almost like an 8th subject to me. But going off on a side note as well, I think I've always really enjoyed more practical subjects, but I think as well, technology, it having a practical aspect to it. It was one of those subjects where you didn't have to work hours at it to understand it for me. It just kind of clicked. I did music as well, and that is very practical, but I do remember not enjoying it as much because I really liked listening to music or reading up about music more as a leisure thing than you have to know what happens in bar 32 because that's what's going to come up on the exam. Like there's music that I studied for my leaving cert that I really love, I really enjoy, but I hated studying it. I think as well because part of dyslexia is you can struggle to remember things. That the pressure of having to learn 7 subjects, it took the fun out of it.
I am dyspraxic, but I did not know that in school.
Oh, I found out in school.
But even for you, and I know one of my friends as well, you didn't have that much support.
At times I had loads of support, and times I didn't. I know since I have left school, it has gotten better. In terms of when you're applying for like waivers and exemptions and things like that, what you get for junior cert, you get for your leaving cert, which is absolutely 100%, I believe, the thing, because I got a spelling and grammar exemption for my junior cert, but I had to apply for it. But I then had to apply for it again for my leaving cert, and the first time I applied, I didn't get it, which didn't make sense to me because it's like it's not something that wears off or you grow out of. because you have it, you're born with it. Like, I got diagnosed with it, or that sounds very scary. It's not a scary thing. I found out when I was 9-10 years old, and I thought it was as obvious as missing a limb. I thought it was terrible. I think as well, when you hear something like dyslexia, it sounds big and scary.
I'd also like to point out that dyslexia is a not nice word to spell.
Whoever thought of that word, it's like they didn't have dyslexia themselves. It's like
let's make these people pay.
Yeah, let's make it an embarrassment. They can't even spell their own learning difficulty. Let's just really rub it in. I don't think I can spell it. I think it's Dylexia.
Is there an S in there?
Did I not say an S?
I don't know.
There's definitely like an Delex. There is an S somewhere, but I couldn't tell you where it is.
It doesn't matter. We don't need to know.
Anyway, I have it. I have the paperwork.
So when the whole ballet thing went to shambles,
you were really hard at giving up on that career quick.
I know. I was really good at the miming and acting bit. So I think that's probably why the ballet teacher, God love her, kept me on, because she was like, she actually can pass by with the miming element.
There's something there. We're just not sure it's ballet.
After the crisis I had of not becoming a ballerina, I really loved horses. I wanted to leave school very early. I didn't want to do my junior cert. Probably because I had dyslexia and dyspraxia and it wasn't diagnosed. But anyway, I loved horses. I loved mucking out. I still love horses today. Never got my pony though. I saved all my communion money and never got it. We're here now. And anyway, so in fourth year I did the musical. I did Adam's Family. I was Alice Beinecke. Then was like, I'd start the youth theatre. Where I am, again, border person, South Monaghan. I'm closer to Dundalk than I am to Monaghan Town. But I didn't think the Dundalk Loud people would accept me, nor the Cavan people. So I made my mother drive me 40 minutes every week to Monaghan Town. Now, granted, it was only for a year. I was in fifth year at this stage. I had started to learn how to drive, so she wasn't actually driving, I was. But anyway, I really liked youth theatre in Monaghan, NYT. I loved it. And I decided maybe I'll do the drama. They say at home, I do drama for a living. I do the drama.
That's actually really good. Your mom does sound like that.
I would like to say as well, I love my parents, but doing the drama is not a normal thing really to do. And to be honest, they didn't really have that planned out in my life. Yeah. To do the drama, they knew it was hard and there wasn't probably a lot of money in it. So they were slightly concerned, but I convinced them that if I did the drama degree in TU Dublin, which was then DIT, I could become a drama therapist. By the end of the first year of college, I had decided and broke the news to my parents that maybe I wasn't going to become a drama therapist and maybe I was going to do the drama as an actor.
How did that go?
Not great. Not horrendous. I think they were convinced, and I was kind of convincing them that as a side job, and honestly, still to this day, I'm still kind of convincing them because you know the way that the Leaving Cert is now doing drama?
Yeah.
Mom and Dad want me to do that. But yeah, that was kind of it. And so yeah, I did 3 years there, graduated in COVID, and then I met you.
Yeah, so my story, I started when I was 4. I started in ballet and then I went into modern dance at 6.
Contemporary, you mean?
No, not so much contemporary, more like, we called it hip hop because it was easier to explain to everyone else because you say modern and no one knows what you're talking about. We did jazz and hip hop and commercial. We did everything, and I did it all part of like my local dance school, and I did the IDTA exams. I don't come from artistic families or anything like that. Apparently, the story goes, because I don't remember because I was 4. I was at my minder's house, and there was an older girl, and she had her blue leotard and her blue skirt and her cardigan, shoes, and the whole shebang. And apparently one day I asked my mom if I can do that, not having any idea what it was. My mom got the number for the school, rang up, and I went and tried out at the next week. I stayed there until I was 20 years old. So the only reason I left was because I emigrated and went to London to continue dancing. I think just before secondary school, because it was that thing of like, oh, where are you going to go to secondary school? And you had to pick subjects. I was kind of leaning towards maybe the possibility of doing dance as a career, but I think more so as a dance teacher, because I didn't have any friends, I didn't have any family in that world. Going to dance shows other than the Nutcracker Christmas was not something I was exposed to, so I didn't see how you could have a career just dancing on stage every day. So I was like, oh, if I want to dance, I have to be a dance teacher. I kind of explored that from an early age. And that was when I think about 5th or 6th class was when I really started taking my dance exams much more seriously. I was always going to my classes anyway, but it was a thing where I was like, I'm going to dance. And it just became more serious in my head.
And why was that? Like you said like 5th or 6th class. So what, 11, 12?
11, 12.
Did you kind of decide, right, I'm going to be a dance teacher at that age?
I don't think I definitely decided, because I've definitely had other moments where I've gone be a pilot and my eyesight is terrible. I wouldn't be able to get the plane off the bloody runway. Yeah, like there's moments like that where you're like, oh, it'd be fun to do that, but when you think about it, you're like, you wouldn't be happy being a pilot.
Yeah, that age is kind of competitive, isn't it? Like
I never fell into the competitive trap because I never did competitions. I'm not a competition dancer.
Okay.
And I never did the whole dance moms thing. I went and I did exams and I did weekly classes. We did school shows. It was all very tame. And in my school, there was never really the main part kind of thing. That came much, much later. More when I became a teen, we started getting like actual roles. It would only really be the people in my class. One year we did the Wizard of Oz story, like grade 4, were all the lions, but I was the big lion. I got like a solo, and he would do acty more things like that throughout the story, but they would have been all like the little lions. And another girl who in my class, like, there was only about 6 of us. By the time you get to that age, because most people leave by the time you hit secondary school, like we were like Glinda, Munchkin Mare, the Lion, not the Witch in the Wardrobe, but the Tin Man, and the Scarecrow, all those characters. And then there was another one we did as well. We did Alice in Wonderland. It was a similar sort of thing.
That is really cool.
Well. Yeah, it was a fun way of doing it, but it didn't feel competitive because everyone got equal time.
Some people were probably like me in the background who just was happy being a little lion.
Some people, they're like, I love going to classes, but I don't like being on stage. I've since met those people, and especially when I went to college and was training like full time, you do meet those people who they're suddenly like, actually, I really love the dancing, but I much more preferred it with a few fun classes every week. I think suddenly when it becomes your training for it, your mindset has to change. And if it doesn't, the people who have taken it seriously can maybe look at you and go, like, why are you here? I know there were people who they said, this is all a bit much for me.
Yeah.
And they did leave.
Totally valid.
Some left and some carried on. That's the thing, like it can be difficult. I think I was quite unusual in that I knew kind of even the direction I was heading in from a young age, but there's a lot of pressure to put on 16, 17, 18-year-olds to be like, what do you want to do for the rest of your life?
Can I ask you, how did your parents feel about you going into this?
My parents were actually very supportive of it. I was doing a lot of research by myself from the age of about 12 to definitely like my junior, sort of 15. I was doing my own research. I wasn't really openly saying to people I wanted to go into dance.
Okay.
I was doing a lot of like, oh, how do I do this? I think it was the thing of I wanted to find out myself if I could it be done? And at this point, I was really only kind of exposed to the ballet world. I'd seen movie musicals and loads of things like that. But I think in my head, like they were just actors, or I was like, well, I'm not going to be an actor. But I didn't fully understand how the world worked when it came to it. And because as well, the school I was in was not gearing anyone towards going into the arts. It was a very academic school. So when you were going against the grind, not that there not support, but it was the thing of, we're not going to help you find out how to do this because
I don't think they knew.
No, my parents were supportive. I was doing a lot of research myself.
You were pitching it to them.
Yeah, but also I didn't realize my parents knew about it. They'd kind of figured it out. So they had actually then gone to my dance teacher and they kind of talked about like, well, is it worth going and her doing her junior cert? Should she do her leaving cert? Should she go at 16? Because again, the only thing we'd really been exposed to was ballet. And that was the thing, you go at 16 or you go very young. They were all convinced that, and like, no, she should stay, do her leaving cert. The kind of thing of if it goes wrong, she's something to fall back on. But I do believe that was the best thing for me because I was very young at the time. But also the course I ended up doing much more suited me. And there's no way at 14 I would have picked that kind of course. And I needed my leaving cert to do that course. So that was the right thing for me to do. And I ended up going down the contemporary route. So being that little bit older, I think only helped me. When I did my leaving cert, I then went to the College of Dance for 2 years. And then I went on to London and I went to Trinity Lab and Conservatoire of Music and Dance and did their contemporary course.
Did you like school?
It depends on the day and it would depend on the class. I struggled in school. I found it difficult and I think it helped knowing you're dyslexic. I think finding out there is a reason why you find it difficult to read out loud. There's a reason why you take twice as long to remember the information. Some people, they can read a page and they only have to read it maybe 3 times and the information's gone in. Or if they have to, particularly with like, I remember having to remember poems and quotes and stuff. And you just be like, I don't work like that. I remember in junior cert it being like a memory test of, particularly in history, you're having to remember dates, and in geography it was all about how mountains were being formed, and it didn't quite make sense. And I remember being like, oh, don't try to understand it, just try and remember it. So actually, hold on, to go back. Yeah, I did the college dance for 2 years in Ireland. I was a student there. Then I went to London. During it being in London, then COVID happened. But before COVID happened, did the emergence program 2019-2020, which then got cancelled because of COVID.
Can you just explain to some people what that is?
The emergence program set up by Dublin City Council, and you would apply, and if you were chosen, you would meet with some mentors, people in the industry, and you would create a piece in collaboration with them. Like, you create it and then they would give you feedback, and then you would put this piece on stage at the end of this program. We got about halfway through and then everything stopped because of COVID. So then I reapplied again 2 years later. Got it. And that was the same year you were doing it.
I didn't know it was 2 years after. Was that when it started back up, or did you take a break?
No, I took a break. I was in my final year at Laban. I didn't apply that year, and then I applied the year after. And then that was the year I met you. We had never seen each other before, which I think is kind of rare. Because in Ireland, circles are quite small. Like, when I would go to programs during the summers in dance house and things like that, and you would tend to meet the same people.
I wasn't there.
You weren't in Dublin.
I was in Dublin for college. Also, I don't really know why I applied to emergence. I think the main reason, like, I really like physical theatre movement. I can't really sit still. I do like dancing, not like show me your jazz hands. Like, I would love to be able to do that. I just can't. I've got 2 left feet. But I like having the crack and boogieing. I've always really liked watching dance. I think it's amazing, and kind of storytelling non-verbally. Maybe a neurodivergent thing, I don't know. I got it more from not having too much words, which is the most ridiculous thing ever. Like, I'm an actor who doesn't like text. That's weird.
Oh, yeah. No, I had to think about it.
I know, it's okay. But I remember saying that to someone and they were like, why are you doing this? I have a theory that it's my inner 4-year-old coming back as,
you will dance.
This is a different form. It's like my brain tricking me, like, you're moving.
I've never heard that before.
I don't think it's common. It is coming. It's coming from, like, I love mime. I am the biggest clown and I love it. I really respect when people can, like, move their body in a certain way. My hero is Michael Murphy. Or Alwyn Ferrere, who are Irish actors, and they're incredible at just moving. And I don't mean in big gestural, they can do that as well. I love body language. I love people watching. As someone said to me before, I think it was my first agent and I was really excited, and they were like, you're a bit niche. And I was like, okay, what does that mean?
Anyway, we were working on our pieces and there were 2 very different separate pieces. There's about 5 of us on the program.
And they are quite different.
They were all very different.
Is that the way the program works, that they would try and have very different
I
people?
think so. I'm thinking back to when I did it the year before. The common thing was there was an element of dancing and movement in all of them. Like,
okay.
No one was coming in and singing or playing an instrument. It was always like dance. I think mine, in comparison to yours, very much dance.
I was just going to bring that up. Like, mine is literally performing art, and I mean this in the most grateful, loving way. I think it was after COVID. They may not have gotten too many applications, and they were like, stick her in. Very grateful, because I wouldn't have met Sarah and all the lovely people, but I genuinely believe.
No, I think different, because there was movement and a dance element to it. I think there's an element of looking for something different.
I get that a lot. We probably should point out that it is kind of
choreographic project.
Yes. So you are making it yourself.
Yes, you are making yourself. There's like 6 people in the studio all working on their piece. We could have very easily done the project and not interacted with each other. We did kind of a warm-up.
And workshops with the mentors. But the mentors didn't choreograph us. They kind of gave guidance.
They gave prompt and
feedback.
Yeah. The difference was as to why we've stayed in touch and how we've now created all of this. I felt drawn to you. Like, I remember asking you, can you just watch this and tell me what you think? I don't know, like, it was that thing of I valued your opinion, and that's not saying I didn't value everyone else's opinion.
No, I do know what you mean. I think, like, and that's the weird hippy dippy bit about art, where, like, you get like an instinct and your intuition kind of kicks in, and you get like a vibe or you know, a connection. I think we were probably the same age bracket.
Yeah, I think we were both a little bit older. It was so nice. There was such a difference in ages, in styles, in where everyone was coming from. I think, the 2 of us just clicked. You meet new people and you get new ideas. Yeah,
and you learn and you bounce off people.
If I had always stayed in the same fields that I was in when I was like 12 looking at dance, I would have turned out to be a ballerina. Now, I wouldn't have had the skill set to get me there, but I wouldn't have looked elsewhere. Whereas then when I went to College of Dance, I realized I really liked contemporary. And then I did have my moment where I was like, oh, but I really love jazz as well. But then you kind of realize when it comes to being creative and what can you see yourself doing more than just a class. Like you can always go and do just a jazz class. And I've done them and it's great. I love a jazz class. But I don't have the love, and don't get me wrong, I love a good musical. In terms of like love and creating something, I like contemporary more, and I think it's that thing of it suits me, it suits my body. You know, when you try on a dress sometimes and it's a lovely dress, but it's the wrong cut on you, or it just doesn't fit the same as this other dress.
That is a lovely way of looking at different styles and techniques within an art form. For me, physicality, body language, I love improving.
Yeah.
So I think movement in acting has a lot of kind of improving, but it is exactly what you said. It's like trying on an outfit, and does it fit properly? Does it fit with my body?
Yeah. And I think that was part of it. I went to a few open days before deciding what college, and I remember going into Laban and being like, I feel at home here. There's an atmosphere and you're just like, I love it. How do I get here?
That is really interesting. I had the exact same thing for TUD.
Really?
Yeah.
Side note, we should do an episode on our audition process. This episode has been just to introduce ourselves, a little bit of a backstory, a few side notes here and there, just to get to know us and what we do. And we just want to talk to people about their experience in the arts and any work that they're creating. What's their creative process? How do you work?
We created this to help artists figure the mind feel of the arts industry out.
Definitely. And if they've any helpful tips along the way for us, other people, listeners, and hopefully the ones coming behind us, because I hope there are more artists.
Yeah.
I would hate if it ended with us.
No, God,
but that's not a good sign.
No, God, no.
That's all we have time for this week. We hope you enjoy getting to know us. Tune in next week for our first guest episode. If you'd like to be a guest on our podcast or connect with us, all our details are available in the show notes. Thanks for listening.
How do we stop?
I think we just stopped.
Oh, okay.